Hey guys, so today we have a little brush I haven't used in a while, the Stirling Boar brush. It's a 24 millimeter and I have soaked it for a long time. I meant to shave earlier in the day, so it's had several hours of soaking, which this particular brush kind of needed anyway, and so I'm not really all that sorry. This has been a hard to break in brush. Not hard to break in, but it's just taken a lot longer than my Zeniths and Samode brushes. And also we've got a weirdness from for today's shave, because this is a 3-day growth. I just have been busy and various other reasons, and mainly just busy and needing to get sleep and do work and all that. Sabre from Blackland razors. We're going to put the PTFE blade in it, and this is use number 11. And I have Torchwood from Australian Private Reserve, APR. And this scent has mostly you get some leather in it, you get some woodiness, and then there's some fruits thrown in, and like plum and a few other things like that. I've got the full list for you down in the description. I didn't write it out so that I could tell you in the video. Things just kind of happened a little bit more off the cuff tonight. But those are the main components. And what I smell from the tub, the fruits are pretty easy to perceive. The woody notes are more subdued, and the leather is definitely there. Now, if I didn't know it was leather, it might take me a bit to figure out, because the fruits might throw me off. But since I know that it's got some, the leather is kind of one of the distinguishing and main parts of the scent, one of the main focuses of it, then it's easy to pick out once you know. And I bet a more experienced nose with the leather, note would be able to pick it out right away. From the tub, it's a nice medium to slightly stronger than that scent, so I'm very encouraged. And I think most APR scents are nice and strong, and so I do enjoy them during the shave, and so I'm looking forward to that. This is a used tub, plenty in it still. And I'm going to put and this is the Gem PTFE blade. It's not the carbon or any of those others, and everybody just advises that you make sure to use the PTFE blades when you use these types of single edge razors. Now the Sabre, I've used it several times lately, so you guys might be tired of hearing, but you have the spine, and there's a recessed area there, so it's easy to know which direction to point the blade. And then the shaft, the bolt, comes up through the blade and then through the base plate, and I just keep the blade horizontal, and that way all I have to do is keep the handle horizontal, and I usually don't have too much problem lining everything up. Because that little bolt is flattened on two sides, you want to be very careful when screwing everything together. If it starts to bind, just stop, back off, and try to do it again so you don't cross thread it. All right, and also you probably don't want to just crank down on it to just keep it super tight, just tight enough to hold on. I don't know how much force it would take to mess up those little threads on the side of that bolt, but I don't really want to find out, as you might guess. All right, we're good to go. The blade's in, and I'm going to get my face wet, and then we'll load up on the soap. Got a little different camera stand right now. I had to do a makeshift one. I left my normal one at a different place. Shaking out most of the water. This doesn't hold a ton of water. As you can see, there's a lot of space between the bristles. It has a natural built-in V shape to the knot. I can feel a lot of firmness right here, so they did put a glue bump right there to help with the shape, and I'm glad, since it's such a stiff knot. But I tell you what, once all these tips start splitting and getting more comfortable, this high backbone guy might just end up to be a favorite. All right, let's do 30 seconds of loading. We'll start at 55. So that means we'll go to 25. 10 more seconds. Oh man, the scent is just, it's tremendous to have such a great quantity of scent around here in the air. Use this lather to maybe break up some of the oils on my face. All right, I'm going to clean the jar while it's easiest to do now. All right, unfortunately I don't have the ability to tilt the camera as nicely as I usually do, so we'll just have to kind of hold the bowl up a little bit like the days in years past when I didn't have the nice tiltable mount. So yeah, those fruity and leather notes are just very dominant. It's a neat interaction between those two types of scents. And whenever it looks like things are consistent, you know, you're not making a wet lather or you're not making a super thick, you know, you kind of combine everything, then that's when I like to start adding the water. Go ahead and add 1.5. Brush seems to have a bigger splay than usual. This super long soak may have really advanced the brush. Now we can kind of see that we've equalized some more. Things are pretty consistent. I'm going to go ahead and put in 1 teaspoon, so we're at 2.5. Let's go all the way up to 3. Maybe all we need to add. Just, you know, you got to play it by ear each time. I don't come in to the process with an assumption about how much water I'm going to add, unless I look at my data and I see consistent results with, you know, if you load for this long, then you need this amount of water is what you'll need. But then many times I change the brush, and so that can totally mess up a previous ratio, and that's just fine. So I just play it by ear pretty much every time. APR soaps really perform very well in terms of slickness and all the right things. They hold water nicely so that they can be very well hydrated and perform with great slickness and kind of a feeling of luxury with that creaminess. Okay, we'll pull it down and kind of let it drop into the bowl and stretch and all that, and just see what, oh, yeah, why don't we go ahead and use that. I don't have tons of lather here in the bowl, but it looks like plenty to do the job. It's so weird to shave on a 3-day growth. I just probably count on 3 fingers the number of times I've done that in the past 3 years. I think I did it a couple weeks ago. My life lately has just been more complicated. Oh, now the splay here is much easier than I remember. So yeah, I think that long soak advanced this brush quite a bit. The tips do feel, they don't feel soft like a Smoke or Zenith, and so they definitely have some splitting to do. But at least the display has opened up. Oh yeah, the scent is very present. So it's definitely a part of your shave. Sometimes if you use a scent to take you somewhere, or if you just kind of enjoy smelling it. So these tips are very kind of wiry, in a scrubby way, but not scratchy, not scritchy or anything like that, just kind of scrubby. So you wouldn't really, they're scrubby enough to where I would not call them soft at this point, but I am encouraged, at least, you know, they're making some headway. Yeah, I think I'm happy with this consistency here. This is going to feel interesting. One piece of data that I'm going to add to my database, the system I use to keep track of all my shaves, is the compatibility of the razor and blade. You know, how well did they work together? And I'm looking forward to that, because I think that's a real key aspect to, if I wanted to pick some favorite shaves, then I think those that worked highest in that particular metric might be my favorite, you know, shaves, or at least the top. So I think that's going to be I don't know why I didn't think of that one before. All right, so with the grain, for me, means from north to south on my cheeks. And this razor does mean that I keep that blade angle very small, which means the handle angle, normally with a DE razor, it might be something like this, but I need to open it up for this razor. But it mowed through, and this is the 11th use. It's mowing through the stubble with almost no tugging, and definitely no, you know, discomfort. Well, a little bit of tugging right there. I wonder if I opened the blade angle a little too much. But actually, I don't mind if it tugs at this point, because I think shaving off 3 days of growth is kind of out of the norm, definitely for me. Very nice. And rinse. Let me tell you this, sometimes with a multi-day growth, I'll bring a razor and blade to my face, and what ends up happening is the first pass just isn't as effective as it is when it's just a 1-day growth. And so that puts more work on the second pass. And then the third pass is just a clean up, a touch up kind of pass. What I feel right now, it pretty much took care of everything. My face feels right now, after the first pass, just like it always feels after a first pass, even if it's just a 1-day shave. So it easily just mowed through the hair with just expert quality. So yeah, I was immediately attracted to this scent because of the sandalwood and other woody notes mentioned. And then the leather aspect as well is another big time favorite of mine. Now the fruits are coming in and kind of messing up the manliness a little bit, but it also could be a scent that changes the first or second time you use it. You know, I've definitely had that happen with a good many soaps. So who knows what it's going to smell like in 3 uses for my nose. And also during the shave itself, some of those early notes could burn off and evaporate and leave something with those base notes still available, the woody and those sorts of things that I do enjoy. Yeah, we've got plenty enough lather to do the job, so a nice efficient use of soap today. All right. And we're going to do cross grain for the second pass. Again, with me focusing constantly on keeping an open handle angle to keep that blade close to my face. The top cap there. Keep that blade angle very small. Now that's what I have to do to get an enjoyable shave from these razors. You may be different. Your skin may be tougher. You might be able to handle a more normal angle. So it's just about playing around with it, seeing what makes you happy. And this is one that I kind of need to take my time on, and my muscle memory could revert easily back to the angle that a DE might use. And so I need to take my time to make sure my eyes watch my angle here and I don't fall back to DE habits, because it could cost me irritation or cuts. But I am still focusing on a light touch as well. And rinse. All right. This scent is very interesting, and it's one I definitely want to mull over. It's not one that I am immediately jumping into, but my love for the leather type scents and the woodiness are definitely making me make sure that I use it and try it out. The fruitiness is the only thing that's interfering just a little bit. But if I was stuck using this because of some logistical error, I'm pretty sure I would just enjoy it every single day. All right. Third pass, and my face felt very smooth after that second pass. So this really is a pass that could be avoided if you were in a hurry, or if maybe you buffed a little bit more on that second pass. This is a razor that shaves with a great amount of efficiency, and it does it pretty comfortably. I mean, to mow down 3 days of growth with that level of closeness is just insane how little hair was left after the first pass. I've recently become aware I am a big fan of fine accoutrements. I have been for a while, ever since I discovered their hard soap line. They've copied several mainline fragrances like Cerulean Vetiver, Grey Vetiver, Terre de Hermes, Aventus, the American Blend was one, maybe by Yves Saint Laurent, and then of course there's the Sandalwood by Art of Shaving, that was copying the vintage Art of Shaving Sandalwood, and that's just kind of what he does, and it's not something that's rare in the shaving world. Most shave makers will do a dupe. We call them dupes. And so the Aventus, as such a popular cologne, has been duped by just about everybody. And so fine accoutrements duped those types of scents and created their hard pucks, and they've got a great formulation. And so I love the hard pucks. Mitchell's Woolfat, the Fitjar Islands, Cyril R. Salter, Tabac, just wonderful. Valabra made some hard pucks for a while. I just really enjoy the hard pucks for some reason, more so than the Cropes. I don't know why. And the fine just happened to perform really, really well. Well, I just became aware that that they have. It looks like the fine guy, I think his name's Todd. It looks like he copied the travel razor case from Spearhead Shaving. And there's a demonstrable timeline on archive.org that has Spearhead coming out with it, and it looks like that khaki razor set where you separate your three-piece razor and you have the shaft for the handle, and then the base plate is on one part and the blade bank is on the other part, and it's got these elastic bands to hold everything together. And then it's got two flaps to fold in, and then from the sides, and then a flap from the bottom, and then a flap from the top, and those two will snap together, and then it's terrific. And that was modeled after the khaki case of Gillette, of vintage Gillette fame, and then, but within about a month of Spearhead releasing their case, Fine released one that was pretty much exactly like it, with just using different materials. His is made in China. Spearhead makes theirs in the United States. Spearhead's is about $28, and Fine's is, I think, about $21. And so Fine is undercutting Spearhead's costs because he's having it made in China. And I was so disheartened with that. In a sense, I'm not, because there are only so many ways to make a travel razor case. For, you want it to be compact, and there's only so many ways to, arrange things. And they both were, and it wasn't like it was the design was totally new and the intellectual property of Spearhead, because they were copying the khaki. In general, it wasn't an exact copy, whereas if you look on the websites, Fine's is pretty much an exact measurement by measurement copy of the one from Spearhead. And that's, I think, change the design up a little bit, come on. And then, so I encourage you, if you're looking for a three-piece travel kit, I've been showing the one I had from that I bought from AliExpress. That's the leather kind that folds together. You go for that. Obviously, it's much cheaper. Probably cost you about $10 to get that one delivered to your door from Yaki Express. Now, that is out of the nation. That's not made in the USA, definitely. And it's definitely not going to be the quality. It's not going to last as long as the one from Spearhead. Spearhead's $28 plus shipping. And but Spearhead's is going to just be rock solid. And he's a great guy. He made the Seaforth brand. It's just, his soap base is just wonderful. And he's been copied buy fine, and then undercut. And so I'd encourage you, if you're looking for one of those cases, choose, if you're interested in supporting a American-made only, product, then throw an extra few dollars at Spearhead and get his. But you got to do what you got to do. If your budget's really low or something, then maybe the fine one is the one to go to. But that was a little discouraging. And over on Reddit, we're in the process of, there are some companies on the do not buy list. And Phoenix Artists and Accoutrements has been on there for a long time, and it's very renowned and known, at least on Reddit, some of the underhanded practices that he has done. Douglas Smythe, Eric Hodges, they're kind of the same people. He uses those personas, or at least in the past, he has used both personas to kind of hawk his products. And we're putting together, not me directly, but just as a group, we don't want to just put somebody on a do not buy list and then not really have any proof or evidence. And a lot of times the way these things happen is the proof comes out at one point, but it doesn't really get logged, and then a year later nobody remembers why so and so is on the do not buy list, or some people remember why, but then the new people are like, what's going on, and so we're putting together the evidence so that people can make informed decisions, because maybe something that somebody has done doesn't matter as much to them. Like the PAA guy said he was a member of the military, a veteran, but he's not. He would have conversations online with his two personas to tout up his products, copying various other small manufacturers, small businesses. And it's just, there's quite a bit of evidence that we've gathered together. So if a new guy says, "What's that? What's up?" then we have a place to point them. It's not a bunch of, and it's substantiated. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with fine, because until a week ago, I didn't even know they were on the do not buy list. And so we'll see. Now, because many soap makers will create inspirations or duplicates, attempts at duplicating the fragrances of the big houses, that doesn't bother me. Sterling does it, Declaration Grooming does it, so many people, so many makers do that. So that doesn't bother me because it's not impacting the market. If you're about to go out and buy a Ventus, then you're not going to go to Sterling and buy Executive Man instead. You're going to pay the huge price and buy a Ventus. You're also going to kind of get what you pay for sometimes, because a lot of times those expensive oils will last a lot longer, and so you may find that high-priced cologne lasts all day long, where Sterling's may not last as long, something to that effect. So sometimes you really do get what you pay for regarding those scents. And so I think most of the smaller companies that do create the dupes, they don't consider it infringement on intellectual property because they're just not in the same market as those other huge companies. But what Fine did with that case was they copied something from a small maker that is definitely in the same market as them. And I'm interested to see if anything else comes out. And then I'll have a little quandary, a little question to figure out, ethics-wise, if I want to continue to support that business. So we'll just see, right? I have not put on a post-shave product, and my face is not dried out. That speaks very well of this soap base. I've still got a few clods around that I can kind of bring back the slickness on my face if I wanted to. I think I just did my third pass. So let me pause you after my little soapbox and give myself a good rinse and check out the closeness. All right, very nice shave. I do see some tips here, just with a little bit of closeness to a little bit of length on the tips, but closeness is very nice, very comfortable, feels great. The scent of the soap is still lingering just a little bit. And because I wish that the sandalwood scent was a little bit more dominant, I think I'll use that as my balm. I'm sure it's going to translate nicely to in the continuity of the scent experience. So let's whip out a nice smelling balm that I have had for a long time, Sandalwood by Lather and Wood. And my face still has some dampness to it, so this will spread nicely. I don't have any irritation. I did have a small weeper down here, but it looks like it's already closed up. This razor really does shave efficiently, and it does so with a pretty nice, matter of fact, I might say, with a surprisingly high level of comfort for such efficiency. You definitely need to respect it and watch your angles, especially around bumps on your face. And this is an 11-use blade, and it is still sharp enough to just shear off bumps on your face. All right, that smells terrific. Nice woodiness. I'm going to clean up my gear. So this little brush still has a good bit of backbone, especially maybe on the bottom half of the bristles, but you've got a nice bit of flex on that top half to where it's very comfortable to use. If I really worked myself up because of that kind of wiriness and scrub, this doesn't feel super luxurious quite yet, so it's got a ways to go if it ever meets up with that. But there are some guys out there who want a scrubby boar brush, and so this might be just perfect for them. We'll see how soft it gets as we move along in the uses. It's at about 25 uses or so right now. So if, it looks like, 3 teaspoons of water was all that was needed. That's not a whole lot. Although, and we didn't have all that much lather. We had plenty to do the job. I'd say 4 passes is what I had in the bowl to use. And that's just kind of the perfect amount. So very economical use today. And like I was saying about fine, if the only problem that people can find with them is that razor case, it might be easy to just kind of ignore that, because there's only so many types of razor cases you can make and have it be a travel kit, have it be small, and that the design that Spearhead used was a copy of was inspired heavily by another design, and so it wasn't exactly their personal primary intellectual property. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy a Spearhead. I'm going to buy a Spearhead case, and I'm not going to get the seconds one where you can save a bunch of money if you get one that has a few errors in it. I'm going to buy the full measure. I'm going to buy the full retail price one soon, and just to support his business and just as a statement that, man, we're behind you, and I'm sorry that somebody else is kind of cutting down on your business there. Fines also has a different cloth design and stuff. Spearheads has a nice military look, olive drab and that sort of thing. And I think when I went to Fine's website, it was more of patterns and colors and things like that. And so, in a way it might be all right. If he never does that military look, then you could just pick which look you wanted, and that might not undercut Spearhead's business very much, in fact. So that was 3 teaspoons of water with a 30-second load. That little brush, I don't know if the soap that hadn't been used in so long and so had a film on it, but usually that little brush will pull up more soap than that, but it worked out perfectly. And this was the level 2 base plate. You can always tell with mine because my level 1 base plate matches the razor and it's a brushed finish, but my level 2 is a polished finish. So 11th use, and it's treating it very well. I am not going to hold against the razor and blade combo that it tugged some on my neck in the first pass. It was fine on my face. It tugged a little bit because it had been 3 days, and it took off that growth easily. Very nice. And this is just a level 2. It feels very comfortable, but like I said, it's capable of cutting closely and well, so you should be careful, at least if you're a shaver like me. I'm sure there's some tough skinned guys out there who think it's too mild. The Sandalwood balm is, like I thought, working very well with this soap. The soap is not really lingering too much to conflict with the balm at all, so it was more like a transition from one to the other instead of adding on to with the balm, but it's very nice. And a little small reminder, as always, these blades, these single-edged blades, look like the kind you can get for paint scrapers and glass scrapers. They are different. Do not use the scraper blades in your razor and expect it to be a good performing, good shaving razor. It might actually work. It's probably going to hurt a lot. And there we go, guys. Terrific shave. I don't have any residual irritation, nothing that lasted to this point. Like I said, my little weeper healed up very quickly during the shave. Closeness is top-notch. Comfort's high. It is a different shaving experience. This type of blade, when compared to the double-edged blade, is much thicker, and so you get just a different world of experience. It's a firm blade moving across your face. You don't get that same chatter. You just hear the hairs. You don't really hear the blade vibrating very much at all. And I encourage you to try it out. There are various gem razors that are vintage. If you have access to an eBay-like website in your country, then it's very easy and inexpensive to pick up and try one of these guys out. The clog proof seems to be a kind of a middle of the road razor. The Micromatic open comb is the open comb version of the clog proof, roughly. It is much more aggressive. Smoother are the bullet tip and the featherweight, and they're just all rather inexpensive. If you want to try this type of shaving, the Gem 1912 or the Ever Ready 1912 is that kind that kind of comes up and around like a hook when viewed from the side, and it looks very different than like the one I'm using today, and it also looks different than those other gems that I mentioned. And that one presented a very different experience as well, even though it uses this same single-edged blade. So that's another one that's also very inexpensive that you could try as well. But make sure you get the PTFE blades from Gem, and you'll have the better shave experience, I'm pretty confident. It'll be different. You have to maybe adjust the angle. But you may find that you really enjoy it. I definitely know there are a small minority out there who have tried these single-edge razors and love them. All right, guys. And the blades, yes, the blades often, people are saying they do last longer, and especially if you're a person who only gets 3 or 5 uses out of a double-edged blade. I think many of those types of people will get more like 10 uses out of a single-edged blade. So even though those blades might be more expensive, they might actually be comparable because you get more uses. I think we are good. Good shave. Very nice. You guys take care out there. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves, and I sure hope there's been something in this video that's going to help you out. Good night.